the exception handling, some information I was given. Okay, no? So how this exception handlings are using in our programming side. Okay, so that we discussed in the last class. And okay, right. So here what we said, guys, here the two things it will become here. What is an exception, and second one is what now? What is exception handling? So these are the two things here. What is exception and what is exception handling? What is exception? We said it is a runtime or execution error we called. Okay, and that I was explained in last session. And next one, what is exception handling means? We said to what we said to avoid which type of problems? Abnormal termination. Abnormal termination of a program. So abnormal termination of programs. Okay, so when you want to handle or avoid, so there we need to use what now? Exception handlings. Okay, now so I was given some explanation in yesterday's session. Now come to in our database, how many types of exceptions we can use? Okay, the how many types of exception means in PLSQL language we are interacting with two types of exceptions, and the first one we called as, guys, here system or predefined exceptions we called. Okay, these are one thing, and the second one is called as even though the user can create its own exceptions. User can create its own exception, that is called a user defined exception. Okay, now so these are the two types of exceptions was supported in our PLSQL. One is we called as what now? System or predefined, otherwise user defined. So first I will show you how the system or predefined exceptions are we are using under PLSQL blocks to handle your exceptions which was raised under PLSQL programs. Okay, now right. So the first one we will discuss here to take it out here. Okay, system or predefined exceptions. Okay, so Oracle is having some predefined exceptions are there. The predefined exception statements are there, and every exception statement we are using under exception blocks. Okay, for the associated or the related exception when it was occurred in my PLSQL programs. Okay, so which exception is occurred, the related exception statement I am using. Okay, so that kind of some predefined exception statements are there. For example, in Java.NET, in front-end side also, in front-end languages, you have some predefined exceptions are there. Arithmetic exception, okay, arguments out of the range exceptions, some kind of exceptions are there. Yes or no? So different types of exception names you have. Those are predefined exceptions. And those exceptions we are using in our Java program, .NET program, when we are using, when that exception related error is occurred in the program, and to error we need to handle, then the corresponding and the related exceptions are we are using. Same as here also, predefined exceptions we have it here, and with the help of these exception statements, I can handle the related errors. Okay, so like this, there are different types of exceptions we have. In that, first one is called as a no underscore data underscore found exception. Otherwise, we can set two underscore many underscore rows exception. Next one we can say like a zero underscore divide exception. Next we can say invalid, okay, underscore cursor exceptions. Next we can say cursor underscore already underscore open exception. Next one is, so these are some exceptions we have it here, so and so on, etc. So these are what we called as here some predefined exception statements. And every statement or every exception statement I want to use in my exception block when I want to handle the related exceptions. Okay, let me see some examples. If I show, then you will get some idea. The first one we called as what now, guys? Here, no underscore data underscore found exception. For example, in this exception, what is this exception? And that means when I want to use this exception statement, the no underscore data underscore found exception statement, when I want to use, at which exception level I'm using this exception statement to handle your exception. Okay. For example, let me come back. Just practically observe, then you can understand. So now observe here. So as usual, I want to go for my DB 11 AM. Okay, right. So this is our table, guys. The EMP table, we have it here. So having some data in this table, right? Now I'm writing one PLSQL program. What is my program here? So declared one variable, I'm taking e name. So varchar 2 of some size, and I started begin. And now what I want to do, whatever the user was entered some employee number, the based on number, okay, the person is existing or not. That means that employee row existing or not in your table. If existing, then the person name I want to retrieve from my table. Okay, and tell me, if I want to retrieve data from table in PLSQL, what is your syntax? I already said to you, whenever you want to retrieving data from a table in PLSQL language, what is the syntax? What is the command? Forgot it. Retrieving your table data and storing into variables. Which one? Select into statement here. Select into statement. See, I already said to you in the introduction part only. Select into statement is the command whenever you want to retrieving data from table in which language? PLSQL language. Because PLSQL language I can't use a select star from table name. That query is not supporting here. That's why in place of select a star from table name, what I'm using? Select into statement I'm using. Okay. So some statements are blindly remember, guys. Blindly by heart. Because those are fixed. We can't change it that. So that kind of things now, you just blindly remember it. Okay. Select query. That query is using in SQL retrieval. But here, select into statement. Here, select a statement. Here, select into statement. Both are using what purpose? Retrieving data purpose. But the way of different. The way of syntactical difference in SQL language, in PLSQL language. So that's a blindly remember something. Some points are blindly keep it. Because blind statements never change. Why we called a blind statement? Blind statement means it never changing. It was a fixed statements. Like a queries, DDL queries, DML queries, DQL, DCL, DCL. These are all our fixed statements that we can't change. No one can change those commands. Those are standard commands. Standard means we can't change it. Okay, no? So what is the statement here? Select into. No. Select which column I want to select? ename. Because for which column purpose I was declared variable? V underscore ename. So ename. This column data I'm storing into which variable? V underscore ename variable. And this column are you taking from which table? EMP table, where EMP number is equals to ampersandage of EMP number. Ampersandage means dynamically insert. Okay, fine. And now after that we started dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of what I want to print. Employee name I want to print, but the name is where it is. The name where it is under v underscore ename variable. Clear? So now okay, and I just end here. But can you see guys here in this program we are using declaration block. Next exception block. There are only two blocks I'm using. I'm not using which block? What happened here? I think you guys are not practicing. I understand. How many blocks are there? What are those? Declaration, execution, exception. Introduction here. So now how many blocks I used in this program? Two blocks. Which blocks? Declaration, execution, which I'm not using. Still I'm not using exception block. Still I'm not using exception block. Okay, right. Then after what it was happening, you can see. Okay, fine. It was asking to me, enter value for EMP number. Okay, suppose if I enter 7788. This 7788, whatever you entered, it was there in my table. No. No. Yesterday Sunday, na? Understand. All brains are working, na? Any struck? Because yesterday Sunday, na? Parties, friends. No, na? 7788 is there or not there? There, na? It's clearly showing that. There means row is existing or not existing? Existing. That means row is found. Row is found. Okay. Then the person name is what? Scott. Because I want to take only name. That's why it was showing Scott. So here nothing problem. My PLSQL procedure, that means PLSQL block successfully executed. There is nothing was there. There is no exception in this program. But here my point is now, suppose again if I entered 1122, if I entered, tell me this 1122 was having in your EMP number column? No, there is no 1122. When there is no 1122 means let me come this row which I was entered employee number. This number is found or not found? Not found. Then it was showing exception. It was showing exception. And can you see exception? Which exception? No data found exception is occurred. And this is exception message. The predefined message is called. This is exception message. And along with this exception, some number also there here. That is called a ORA minus 01403. So that means this is what is the exception number. This number is associated with which exception message? No data found. And this is predefined. This is predefined. And this we can't change. It was Oracle defined by default. So now that is what. And now, okay. So what is the exception we got it here? No data found exception. And this exception error number is associated minus 01403. This is what. And here your exception is occurred at which line? Fourth line. Year exception is occurred. At which line exception is occurred? Fourth line is occurred. Why, sir? Fourth line? Because whatever you enter 1122, where it will go? Yes, EMP number. Here it will go 1122. But 1122 record is there in my table? No. That's why here my exception, that means on this statement, your exception is raised. So what I said, whenever your exception is raised here, so your exception is what we can say? Raised. When raised, what it was happened? Your execution of the program will continue or will stop? Will stop. That means here execution will be stopping here. Your program is not going to execute on which line? Which line? Fourth line. Which line? Fourth line. So on which line your exception is occurred, there itself your execution of the program is stopped. It doesn't go to executed. So this is what the exception is occurred. But now this exception I need to handle. So how I can handle means the which exception is occurred, the based on this exception, this is my exception. So this exception related, whatever the exception statement was given by Oracle by default, that statement I want to use to handle no data found exception. Okay now? So that means here observe. So here exception is not going to be okay rising. So now I want to take here what you say here exception is fired. Okay, exception is fired. So when you enter the wrong data, don't write, observe. When you enter the wrong data, so there your exception will be fired. What is my exception? No data found when you enter 1122. Okay, now this exception I need to handle. So how I can handle means that a related exception statement is called as a no data found statement. This is my exception statement. So now this statement I want to use to handle no data found exception problem. Okay now? How I can use? How I can use means I will take here the same program, like you can see. So what I'm saying here, the first, okay. Handling exception. Which exception? Yes, very good. So I'm okay. No underscore data underscore found exception. So how I need to handle this? How I need to handle this means yes, you have write this program. But here, what I want to do, observe. So exceptions are generally in which block is occurred. Generally means it was occurred into execution block, not a declaration. Generally exceptions are occurred. Generally exceptions are occurred in which block? Execution block. Okay. So that's why in this execution block, whatever the exception is occurred, this exception I need to handle. How I can handle? By using of which block? Exception block. Now tell me, exception block starts with which statement? Which statement? Exception statement. Okay, introduction PLS school notes observed. So which statement? Exception statement. Exception, right. And now I want to give when this exception should be handled, when no underscore data underscore found. Whenever your required data is not there in your table, then immediately no data found exception will be fired. And that exception to handling purpose, I'm using which statement? No underscore data underscore found exception statement I'm using. And this statement is user defined or system defined? System defined exception. What I said, no data found exception. Which type of exception? Predefined exception statements. And this statement I'm using under exception block to handle. So I'm using this exception statement, and how I'm handling? So with the user friendly messages, Dbms underscore output dot the put underscore line of what do you say? Record is not found. So what I'm saying simply, not found. Please check it. Some user defined statement I'm going to pass in. And after that, we need to use what? End statement. Understand now? Now tell me. Now in this example, how many blocks we have? 3 blocks. First one, declaration block. Second one, execution block. Third one, exception block. But execution block, I was written under, sorry, exception block, I was written under execution block only. Why? Because your exceptions are occurred where it is in execution block only. Okay, now? Right. So now, okay, fine. So now this block is used and this exception predefined statement is used to handle my no data found exception. Now let me see this entire the program, whatever we written, so that I just go to take it out. And I'm going to execute it here. And it was asking, let me see. Okay, so 7788 record is there. Nothing problem. My PLSQL procedure is executed, output also given. But when I was entered 1122, what happened? Previously it was showing exception. Now it can execute. What happened? Record is not found. Please check it. PLSQL procedure is successfully handled. This is the way how you can handling your exceptions which was occurred under PLSQL programs. Here I'm not using any try catch methods like your front end. In front end we are using what? Try block, catch blocks, finally blocks are using. Yes or no? But those kind of implementations are PLSQL not supported. That is the reason I'm so many times I spoke to you, I told to you, what is that? Front end, back end. Don't compare front end and back end. Every technology is different. Every technology is different. Every language is different. Every language is having its own syntaxes, its own specifications, its own operators, its own data types, its own functions. Yes or no? So that's why one thing to another, never compare, guys. Understand my point now? But the same exception handling concept to handling in your front end side, even though .NET also, they're using try catch. Yes or no? They're using try block and catch blocks, finally blocks. But here I'm using any block? No. The mechanism is different. Understand, na? And same thing, this is Oracle PLSQL. But if you go to SQL Server, another database also there now. So many databases are now. Microsoft SQL Server is there. In Microsoft SQL Server, again, this is not allowed. This is only for Oracle PLSQL. Again, if you go to Microsoft SQL Server, it's the same thing I want to implement in my SQL Server database means SQL Server database cannot understand this syntax format. Again, SQL Server is what? Different. MySQL is what? Different. Oracle is what? Different. Now understand? So initially you are asking so many students in my demo classes, sir, what is the differences between SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle, sir? Oracle, MySQL, sir? Oracle, SQL, sir? Somebody is asking in demonstrations. Okay. So now understand, every language, every database software is its own syntaxes. Now this kind of thing, if I try to implement in my SQL Server, immediately compilation, execution errors are coming out. Because of reason, this language is not understood by your SQL Server SQL compilers. The compilers are different. These compilers are different. Clear na? And same as MySQL also not supported. Okay, right. So this is the first case, no data found exception. How I want to use. Now understand na? Understand or not? Yes. Okay. Finally, what you say? Okay. Okay. Finally, I'm giving one statement. When we retrieve. Okay. When we retrieve data from a table by using select into statement, if record a row, your data means a row. If that row is not found in a table, then it returns. Then Oracle then Oracle return an exception. Oracle return an exception is called as what is the exception here? No underscore data underscore found. Okay, now now what do you want to say? To handle this exception, then we use a predefined exception. Okay, statement is what is our predefined exception statement? No data found exception. No data found exception. And here, this exception, whatever it is occur, it was handling no data exception. Okay. And again, which block I'm using? Exception block. In this exception block, we are using exception predefined statement. The statement name is called as what now? No data found. completed. Okay, right. So this is no data found exception statement. And the next predefined statement, for example, too many rows exception is there. For example, this exception statement when I want to use. Okay, so when I want to use this exception means, so here observe. Generally, by using of select into statement, we are retrieval only one row or a one single value. A single row or single value only we can retrieve. But user try to retrieving more than one row by using select into statement, then there it was occurred too many rows exception occurred. Okay, now so now what I'm saying here, too many rows exception where I want to use it means, here observe, by using select into statement, by using select into statement, we can retrieve or retrieving, or we are retrieving more than one row from a table, then Oracle server raise an exception is called as, okay, is called as what now? Fetching more than one row. Okay, fetching more than one row exception. More than one row exception. Okay, now let me come. So first you can see practically. Suppose I'm creating one table, guys. First of all, I'm creating table. My table name is sample. So one ID column, one name column, and one salary column I was taken. So I was created one table, and table name is sample, and with few columns. Into this sample table, now I'm going to insert, guys, here. So one record I'm inserting. So that was 1 comma a comma, for example, 25,000. So now we can see this row I saved in my table, and my table name is what now? Sample. Okay. Now tell me, in your sample table, how many rows we have? Only single row. At this point of time, if I'm writing my program, declared v underscore salary is one variable I'm declaring for salary column. Okay, after I started begin, and which class? Select sal into where I want to say v underscore sal from what is this? Sample. I'm using here sample, and dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of v underscore sal and to execute. And after that, end and execute now. So what happened? In your table, we have only single row and single column value immediately displayed here, 25,000. So in this, that means a select into statement, whatever I used here, the statement generally retrieving your single value or single row data only retrieve. And in my table, I have a single row. That's why single value of particular column we retrieval. So there is nothing exception here, and it doesn't raise any exception now. But observe, guys, suppose if I want to insert into sample, sending values of 2 comma b comma some amount of salary. And here also, I just made it what now? Commit. After made it commit, then permanently save my data. And can you call your sample? What's happened? Now your table is having 2 rows. And when my table is having more than 1 row, on that row, on that table, I'm using what now? The same program I'm going to writing now. The same program, whatever we written in the previously. The same program we need to write. Okay now? Let me see, I'm writing this program, what it was happen. Okay. So same program I'm writing now. When I was written here, the same program, okay, and execute, it was showing error. What it was saying here, exact fetch returns more than requested number of rows. That means whatever we are fetching by using of select into statement, okay, that fetching table is having more than my requested number of rows. Select into statement requested how many rows? 1 row. But your table is having how many rows? More than 1 row. Understand now? So this is error. And this exception number 0 minus 01422. This is called exception number, and this is exception error message. But this exception is occurred which line? 4th line. 4th line is which statement? Select into statement. Understanding now? So now okay. Then how I can handling? Okay, the question is what now? How to handle? So whatever the exception is occurred, okay, how I can handle this? So now we are writing that. Okay, now I'm saying here handling an exception. So how we can handle here? Observe, I'm taking the same program up to here. Okay, but what I need to add? Exception block I need to add. So I'm adding exception block. So what is my exception name? Come on. Too many rows. Okay, this exception name. Then what I want to say? Dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of. So what I want to say? Your table is having more than 1 row. So some user friendly message. And after that, end. Understanding now? So now this is what handling, and by using of exception block, I am handling the above exception. Okay. Let me see to execute this entire the program. Come back. And now tell me, still come to my table. Come to my table. How many rows still? 2 rows. And now I'm writing this exception block. When I'm writing this exception blocks to execute it, what happened? Your table is having more than 1 row. And my PLSQL procedure successfully executed, and your exception is handled, and user-friendly messages are displaying to the user. When this happening, when my table is having more than 1 row. Suppose I want to delete 1 record from my table. Sample where EID is equals to 2. And I just, what I did here, commit, permanently deleted. And come back to your table. Now see, how many rows? Again 1 row. I have a 1 row, and let me come. When your table is having 1 row, the same program. Again, I'm going to including exception block. Including exception block, the same program I'm going to using, and I'm using exception block also. But what it was happen? Your table is having how many rows? 1 row. If I executed, yes, you got it. Understand now? Yes. So that means whenever your table is having more than 1 row, then too many rows exceptions will be fired. If your table is having only single row, it doesn't fire any exception. So, but when it was fired, your exception too many rows, there you can use a too many rows exception statement under exception block to handle that. Okay, now right now. So this is what we called as the too many rows right now. Okay, completed. The next one. So the next exception statement. Okay, what is this? 0 underscore divide. So this exception statement, when and where I can use this, at what kind of situation, means here observe. So when you're performing your division, the divide by 0. Okay, whenever you want to perform the operation is what now? Divide operation. At the time when you divide or when you division, that you when you perform division operation with 0, with the 0, then it was occurred 0 underscore divide exception. Okay, now so it means, let me see one practical example. Okay, so now we can see, guys. Now I'm going to declaring. Carefully observe. X number type, Y number type, and Z number type. There are three variables I declared. After I started my execution block and I said X is equals to amp percentage of X and Y is equals to amp percentage of Y. And after immediately I perform Z is equals to X by Y. And then I want to print my which value? Z value. So I was print my Z value. And finally end this expression now. So let me see, guys, here that dynamically it was, because I was declared here dynamic. So dynamically it was asking enter value for X. Suppose I was given 10. And it was asking enter value for Y if I given 5. Then execute. Your output is what now? 2. 10 by 5, 2. So there is no exception in this. But in case the program is entered, the programmer entered 10, then Y value enter how much here? 0. So 10 by 0. Tell me, in your Java, which exception? Huh? Arithmetic exception is occurred. Yes or no? Now we can see if I'm going to execute here, which exception here? Divisor is equals to 0 exception. And the exception number 01476, and where it is occurred at line number 8. Line number 8 where it is year operation level. X is equals to 10 by Y is equals to 0. So X by Y 10 by 0, there my exception is occurred. Understand now? So this is what now we called as a divisor is equals to 0. This exception is occurred. So when you want to occur this divisor, or when you want to handle this divisor is equals to 0 exception, then which exception statement I need to use here? 0 underscore divide exception statement I want to use. Okay, now? So now here I'm writing right down below 0 underscore divide. Okay, so when we perform division with 0, then Oracle server returns an exception. Okay, is called as which exception? Divisor is equals to 0. So to handle this exception, okay, then we use this exception. Then we use a predefined exception name. A predefined exception name is called as, what is that here? 0 underscore divide. 0 underscore divide. Okay, right. And now come back. So whatever the table, I was taken this table now. In this example, right. And when you enter this, then error will be come to like this. So write down below. Okay, right. So now I need to handle this exception now. Now I need to handle this. So handling an exception. Yes. Now how we can handle here? Observe. The same thing I'm just going to taking here. Okay. Now, after this, okay, here I need to add my exception block. So I'm passing here exception. And what is my exception name? 0_divide. Then we say dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of, what do you want to say? Second number should not be what? 0. And after that, end your execution block. So this entire the program I'm going to execute now, and let me come back guys here. So now I just executed. So see this, I'm adding my exception block here and the user friendly statement. What is my user friendly statement? The second number should not be 0. Okay. Let me see guys here. Now I was given 10, the 10 by 2, the output 5. So there is no exception in this. And now still if I'm sending 10 by 0, if I'm sending 10 by 0, what happened? What it was say, user friendly message, second number should not be 0. Your PLSK procedure successfully completed. Okay now. So this is what to how to handling of your exception. So right below. Okay, right. So this is what we called as 0_divide. And the same has how this exceptions we applied in my exception block to handle the related exceptions. Okay, same as the remaining 2 exceptions also you can. So invalid cursor already open. So already you have a cursors examples, and these 2 exceptions how to use in my cursor program I was given in the notes, same as okay once you practice. Okay now, right. So now here these are what we called as some predefined exception names. These names are already inbuilt, and these names I am using in my exception block to handle the related exception. Okay, right. But sometimes what it was happen, I'm writing my program, but while you are writing a program, can we know that which type of exception is occurred in my program? Can we know? No, we don't know. That means we can't expect. Yes or no? So I'm writing some program I need to write. So I'm writing some program. But while I'm writing my program, I can't expect what kind of exception is occurred. Which line is occurred. Okay, I can't expect. That is what we called as abnormal. I said in yesterday class. Yes or no? That is called as what now? Abnormal. Abnormal means unexpectedly. It was going to be happen. Something which we are not expected. That is called as what now? Abnormals. So now I'm writing some program, but while I'm writing my program, which type of exception is occurred, I don't know. Okay, now what type of exception is occurred in my program, I don't know. But if any exception is occurred in my program, that should be handled. That should be handled. Now tell me, in your Java, is there any exception name like that? It can handle any type of exception? Exception? Superclass? Huh? Yes. Exception superclass, what it will do? Handling any type of exception. So that means when you are writing your Java program, you are using exception superclass. Okay. Then whatever it was occurred, but it was handled. Yes or no? That is the advantage of exception super. Yes or no? Here also, when I knows what is my exception is occurred, that exception related exception name, if I know, then I'm using like this. I'm using like this. I'm executing this program, which exception is occurred, and this exception related exception statement I know. That's why I'm using. I'm directly using. But what next I'm saying that if I don't know, it was occur some exception, but that exception statement, what it is, I don't know. I don't forget these all the things. For example, whatever it was there predefined, these all the things I don't want to remember. I forgot it. What is what? Yes or no? Okay, but I'm writing a program. I'm writing a program and program executed. Some exceptions occurred, but that exception related exception class statement, what it is, I don't know. I forgot it. So then how I can go to use for any type of exception, and also when user not remember that exception name. Yes or no? In that cases, the people was using one of the best option when you don't know exception names or exception statements, then you can use one thing that is called a SQL code and SQL ERRM. Now take siding. SQL code and SQL ERRM. Okay. What are these SQL code and SQL ERRM means? These are called as a, so simple I can write. These are called as, okay, built-in functions, in error handling, built-in functions in error handling. So these are called as a inbuilt functions or built-in functions or predefined functions. And these functions where I can use for error handling purpose. Where I can use error handling purpose. Okay. Now, so what is SQL code means here? SQL code. Okay. This function, what it will do means it return an exception, okay, number or code. It return exception number. So can you find out the previously every exception is have some number now? Yes or no? Can you see some if you come to these programs, okay, from the first program onwards. Yes. Can you see guys here? Okay, can you see here we finding for every exception is having some number. Can you find out? This is exception message. Along with this message, it was associated what it is number -01403. This is called an exception number. And the number and message. So this number was written by SQL code function. So SQL code function, what it is written? What it is written? It returns SQL code. What it is returns? It returns exception number. Which exception is occurred? That exception number, what it is? That number is written by SQL code. What is SQL ERRM? SQL ERRM. ERRM. What is the mean by ERRM? Means error message. What is the stand of ERRM? Error message. So now see, along with my number, it was having some message now. This is called as a SQL error message. So SQL code function returns your exception number which was occurred. SQL ERRM method or function returns exception error messages. So how the Oracle server is written, exception message, exception number. So these two things are we will be written by using of SQL code and SQL ERRM. Okay, na? So these are the purpose of these two predefined functions to error handling. Okay, na? Right. Now let me see. Come back. So that's what I'm saying here. So SQL code return an exception number, and second one is what now? SQL ERRM. So SQL ERRM, what it was say, return an error message. Okay, now let me see. Okay, these are the two purposes, but one very important point here. Okay, very important point. So when I'm using these built-in functions, okay, in my error handling, then what is this functions class? The which class through it will be working means these two functions can be worked with the others class. Which class? Others class. So now you can write these are used along with others exception statement. Others exception statement. Okay, now so this is observed. So these are used. That means SQL code and SQL ERRM. These two built-in functions I'm using along with which exception statement? Others exception statement. Okay, because I don't know now which exception is occurred. I don't know. So that's why I'm taking what? Others. So now let me come to take one example on this. First observe. First observe. Okay, don't write, observe. So as usual, I'm going to declare here. Okay, the variables X number. Okay, Y number. and Z number. And after that, you need to begin x is equals to amp percentage of x, y is equals to amp percentage of y. And after we said z is equals to x by y. And after we said dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of z. Okay, after that we are using what now? Directly exception block. And when. So now we can see when after what I need to write exception statement. Previously which statement? No data found. We are using no data found. Too many rows. 0 underscore divide. So when you know directly those names, we can use it. But what I said, I don't know what kind of exceptions occurred. I don't know. So that means what I want to use? Others exception statement. So when others, then what I want to write here? User friendly message. dbms underscore output dot put underscore line off. When I don't know what kind of exception is occurred, then can I write user friendly message? Yeah. No. See, previously I was written second number should not be 0. How I was written this statement, this user friendly message? Based on exception, what kind of exception is occurred, why it is occurred. Based on that analysis, user is given some user friendly messages. Yes or no? When we can give user friendly messages? When I knows what type of exception is occurred. When I knows, then I can write my user friendly message. But what I'm saying here I knows, I don't know. I don't know what type of exception is occurred in my program. So whenever we don't know, then how I can write my user friendly message? Can you write? No. So that's why what we want to use? SQL code. It returns what? Exception number. Which exception is occurred and which is handled, that was written. Next one is what now? dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of SQL ERRM. The which exception is handled, that message. And finally, what I want to do? End and ask. So as usual, you can give 10 by 2. It's a 5. But when I'm giving 10 by 0, what happened? You can see, yes. So your SQL code is only written exception number. What is exception number? -1476. The same number na? Can you see? Divide by 0. Divide by 0. 1476. Here 0 is a common. Okay, -0 is a common. 1476. Which one? Divisor is equals to 0 when 10 by 0. The same thing is occurred now. Yes. Which exception is handled? -1476. And what is the message? Divisor is equals to 0. So that means by using of SQL code and SQL ERRM predefined functions, automatically whatever the exceptions occurred in the program in PLSQL block, those exceptions are automatically handling by your Oracle. And which exception is handled? That exception number, that exception message will be showing to user. And now tell me your PLSQL procedure successfully completed. That means what happened? Already handled. But I am not writing any user friendly message. So which exception is raised? Which exception is a handle? That information showing to client, showing to user with the help of SQL code, SQL ERRM functions. Now tell me, by seeing of this, can you understand now? Yes or no? Which exception is handled? Divide by 0. Divisor is equals to 0 exception is handled. Okay, na? So that is the advantage of these two functions. Okay, these two functions we are using for error handling purpose. When user doesn't know what type of exception is occurred. Okay, so I doesn't know my exception name, then I can use others. And definitely When you are using this two, compulsory which statement? Other statement only you can use. Right down below. Take this. Okay, right. So these are SQL code and SQL ERRM. Okay. Now, so now here the previous things you can observe. These all whatever we used the exception names. Okay, in my blocks, like no underscore data found, like too many underscore rows. Okay, now, and like we are using zero underscore divide. Okay, so like we have like a invalid cursor already open, SQL code, SQL ERRM, and others. These are all are what now predefined things, which is not user defined. This is already inbuilt. This is all predefined. So those predefined exception statements I'm using in my PLSQL to handle exceptions. This is one way of mechanism. Okay, now in the second way is what now? I want to create my own exception name. I don't want to depend on predefined exception names like no data found, too many rows, 0 underscore divide, cursor already open, okay, invalid cursor, invalid number. So I don't want to depend on these exceptions, these are all are what now? Predefined exceptions. But I don't want to use predefined exceptions. I want to create my own exception name, and that exception name I'm using in my PLSQL programs to handle exceptions. Okay, now then that kind of exceptions are called as what? User defined exceptions. Okay, now below write down, text heading here, user defined exceptions. Okay, so in the name only there, user defined exceptions. That means these exceptions are created by who? User. Okay, now we can say, so when we create or created our own exception names, okay, then we called as a user defined exception we called. Then we called as a user defined exception name we called. Okay, right. But how I want to create this user defined exception, sir, means that there are 3 steps mechanism we have. Okay, so when we want to create a user defined exception names or name, then we follow. Okay, so then we follow the following 3 steps mechanism. Following 3 steps are, okay, the 3 steps are, first one, step 1, first we want to declare. What we want to declare? User defined exception name. Second one is what now? Riser. So riser user defined exception name. And step number 3, so handling by using user exception by using user defined exception name. Okay, now so these are the 3 steps, guys, here when you want to create your own exceptions. So first one, declaration to user defined exception names. Second one is called as a rising. Okay, second one is called as a rising, and third one is called as a handling. So declared, rise, handle. Okay, right. But how to declare? So when you want to declare user defined exception, how you want to declare, and how I can raise this, and how I can handle, and what is the syntax to declaration, syntax to rising statements, and syntax to handling exceptions. Okay, now, so these things we will discuss on tomorrow's session. Okay, and up to here.